Welcome to Real, Raw and Uncut with love coach Tamara and intimacy coach Veloshni. The show is brought to you by Lavology University for higher learning and loving. Our mission is to empower adults through positive, accurate education on love, romance, relationships, intimacy, and human sexuality across the globe. If you want to become a love or relationship coach, go to loveuniv.com and make the world a more loving place.
So today we have Jonathan MacDonald, and he's from the UK. And one of the greatest things about Jonathan is that he is an advocate for women, which is what I love. Jonathan is a CIM, a Chartered Institute, he works for Chartered Institute of Marketing, a qualified marketer with over 14 years of experience working for the Yellow Pages. During this time, he worked in sales, change management, operations management, sales management, and marketing. He has a holistic approach to customer needs, which is especially useful as he can uncover aspects of business growth not available to most. Put simply, Jonathan understands marketing, but not only that, he understands what marketing means to you. This grants him the wisdom to ensure a bespoke service.
Yeah, my boss wrote that.
Is rendered and at every time. So I met Jonathan. I want to say about a month ago.
No, man.
More
3
than
months
that?
ago. Yeah.
Oh, 2 months ago.
3
months ago. And I have to say, when I finished our conversation, I was absolutely blown away. Jonathan's your outlook on life and everything was just sort of over my head at times, and but it was amazing, and I learned a lot from you. So we are going to talk to you today about you. Okay, so Veloshni.
Welcome, Jonathan.
Hi, Veloshni. Thank you for asking me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. All the better for seeing you too.
Oh, that's awesome. I couldn't wait for this conversation with you because we've had private conversations on your experiences, your life experiences with intimacy. And I think today is the big reveal.
Yeah. I'm exposing my soft underbelly.
So let's get right into it. Okay, so as I'm made to understand, the first 9 months of your existence in an orphanage, you were just left to lay. You weren't held, you weren't picked up, you weren't given any affection, and that was what you know as your early memories. Would you like to just share a bit more in terms of how did that shape you and your lens towards intimacy?
Yeah, okay. I think the first thing, just to clarify, is that I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
And so all I remember, my experience of the conditioned realm of living, however you want to describe it, is that when you're there, you're here. The minute you go, you basically cease to exist. I spend practically no time at all thinking about other people, except for the times I'm having to explain why I'm not thinking about them to people that I'm talking to. Does that make sense? And it's because, so my mum and her sister they used to say to me when I was in primary school, I was the second fastest runner and 110 meters hurdler in the school. And they used to say, "Oh, you're such a good runner. Your legs were like jelly when we got you back from the orphanage." And so I knew I'd been given up day 2, and I knew I'd been adopted in month 9. What I didn't know until quite recently was that for a year after I was adopted, my legs didn't work at all. I had a specialist OT. So babies at 9 months are crawling around all over the place. If you leave them in a cot, they're not. So what that does is it interferes with normal brain development. And typically, I think that's associated with negatives. So there are things that are true about my experience, but because they're only within me, they do not have the perspective that other people would look at them with. So I'll get to the answer to the question in a second. So the experience of not having intimacy. So I look at women and I think, oh yeah, as you do, this vessel's a heterosexual male, yeah. So I was bought pornography when I was quite young, and have a healthy ownerism, shall we say, your thing before Valentine's about loving yourself. But because I don't think about people, I don't give off the vibe that attracts women. I give off the vibe that, so this thing I wear around my neck, I call it my vampire repellent. It's yeah, anyway, that's another story. But I keep it on because it stops people from hugging me. I don't mind.
I was going to say it's a woman repellent.
Yeah, exactly. So the bottom line is, I don't mind a hand on the shoulder, a sort of I don't want someone coming up and, all right, easy. I'm hypersensitive to touch, so I normally, when we're not in lockdown, have a massage weekly and have this proper sports deep. But if I close my eyes and the massage comes around and touches a part of me without me understanding that she's going there, I flinch like that. So I've got a hyper sensitivity and also a chronic self-destructive, self-defeating pattern, which I only know now because when I was researching my book, I was looking into my own conditioning and what made me the way I am. And I thought it was a thing called neuro-linguistic programming, which I'd used at Yellow Pages. And I thought that, oh yeah, I'm running my thinking around this, and that's why I get what I want. Actually, it's because my brain works very, very differently from practically everybody else. So in answer to the question, intimacy and the my relationship to it, I basically, in my entire life, let me just count. In my entire life, I've had sex with 11 people, and I've been in relationships in 48 years or 48 and a half years now. Oh, blimey, 48.8 years. I've only been in relationships for 2 years. I've never had a relationship for more than 6 months. And it doesn't even occur to me. I mean, like, so I like, the trouble is there's a thing called the Cartman drama triangle. I'm a rescuer. So I'm attracted to a woman, and immediately I want to help her and save her. And it's this terrible thing that we talked about in one of my posts that men do trying to solve problems. I do it, but I've got a different brain working at it. And so I get this terrible discomfort that then manifests in self-destruction. But I only know that because I was writing the book.
Yeah.
If you can understand that quick.
No. It's I understand it. It's just incredible. I've never met anybody who's like you, and I don't look at you. No, I mean, it's your brain. It's like how you think, how you talk. And I just think that it's incredible because you go higher in your conversation than a regular person, because we only think on a certain level, and you go higher than that. My question to you is, when you had your first relationship as an adolescent or teenager, or when did you, like, how old were you?
So,
And then
Yep.
my second part of that is, how'd you feel? How'd that feel for you? How did you feel?
Okay, so just to tie off the end of the last question, the attributes of self-destruction and addiction and excessive behaviors and hypersensitivity are what you get if you put in Google sensory deprivation in babies. So I am the living embodiment of that research, which all says you have these behaviors. In terms of sensuality, relationships, anything like that, I didn't even, well, I snatched a kiss from one of the pretty girls in primary school by just running up and kissing her, but until until secondary school, late into secondary school, nowhere near a woman. And in fact, I was doing an AS level, so I would have been 17, and AS says it doesn't matter what the level is, but basically they didn't do that subject at the school I attended, so they had this thing called a collegiate system, where other schools in an area that do offer the subject, you could go to them. And I went to an all-girls Catholic secondary school as a 17-year-old man, one or three of three men and 500 girls. So that was my first experience, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I met this beautiful so she she's like bit darker than me, just golden tan, and this is an extent to how little I knew what to do. So without being this is a sexology thing, so I had her on my bed completely naked, me completely naked as well. I covered her in honey and licked it off her. We had a shower, but I didn't have sex with her because I didn't know what to do.
And did she say anything?
No,
Oh,
because
she didn't know either.
I don't know if she knew or didn't know.
Oh, how did you end up in an all girls school?
Doing this law AS level. So yeah, but basically I got advised to leave higher education because I wasn't studying, because education for me was incredibly boring.
Oh.
So yeah, so I was 17 for my first experience, and then what happened was, because I was in that girl-rich environment, there were three girls that were interested in me at once, and that then really threw my brain, because so to me, there is me and my experience, and pretty much everybody else is other. So Volushni and I have forged a friendship, and we're building on something that's going to be world changing. Literally, she's one of the only women that hasn't run and screamed, but even has the ability to understand me. Least of all, support on my ideas. So yeah, it's a fairly rare experience for me. So I don't look for it, because it's not like I'm lonely. It's like everything I do is inside my head. Out here is just a version of multiple versions I'm running. So apart from the fact that I sort of had a motorcycle accident, I've had various physical injuries. So apart from the fact that my physicality is affected by solid things, in terms of my experience of reality, I just got into a thread today with a copywriter called Lee Rowley, connected with him, and straight into it, and straight away I can see his thinking. And I'm telling him, I go, and I had this joke with him. I said, if you had a Pictionary dictionary, next to the word disagreeable would be a picture of me going, because I am quite literally the most disagreeable person in the world. Like, nothing, no one, even my best friends, they'll come to me and go, Jonathan, I go, well, yeah, but. And so that makes me a real pain in the arse. It's relentless.
I have a friend like that, so yeah. Like
Yeah.
everything is a sort of, he disagrees, and yeah, so I get that.
But it's not that I disagree because I believe in other position. It's just because I can see several others at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically what happens is when I was younger, 18, 19, 20, you know, you get oh no, hold on. So I had that experience at school. Then I didn't have a girlfriend. My first girlfriend was the daughter. So we used to ride motorbikes. And in London, the UK, there's a bridge called Chelsea Bridge. And every Friday night, hundreds of motorcycles would go down there and ride up and down and do wheelies and all sort of shit. So my first girlfriend I met because her mother was a biker as well.
Mhm.
And I was 20 and she was 17. Um, and I had a big sports bike, you know, the sort of thing. And she was a small, you know, light girl. I got my black stormtrooper visor, helmet, and all sorts of cool. I was cool. So
Yeah.
that was my first experience. But she was. It's obvious at that age the difference in age.
Mhm.
Mm.
And so when I had my accident, I was ill-equipped to deal with the situation, and she couldn't have even been begun to be prepared for the injuries and the things that I experienced then and are experiencing now. So yeah, it's only if a girl shows an interest in me do I end up talking to women.
Mhm.
So Jonathan, just going back to the time of your accident, you were in a relationship when the
Mm.
accident took place. Okay, and were you 20 when the accident?
No, I was 20. I don't know. The times are slightly
Okay,
odd, but I think it's about 2021. But then when I look at back,
okay,
it must have been my 22nd birthday. It must have been 21 and a half,
Mhm.
maybe.
okay.
And
And
was
how
this a
long did it take
motorcycle
you
accident?
after the
Was it
So
motorcycle?
yes.
Okay.
and and after the accident, how long did it take you in terms of recovery? And
Uh, well,
uh, I mean, I understand that recovery must have been a long process because I mean and ongoing because mentally you would have been affected, you know, from the damage from the accident. But in terms of you starting to feel just yourself again, starting to feel emotions again, um, sometimes people just close up and
mm.
shut out the world.
So
How was it? Do you want to just speak through how was
yeah,
that
yeah.
experience for you?
So basically, so that people watching can get a view, what I had was called a brachial plexus injury. So if you take your dominant hand and you're on a jet ski or a bike or something where the thing stops but you carry on, what happens is you reach out with your dominant arm. So
Mm.
my dominant arm, which is my right arm, is floppy and wasted away because the brachial plexus injury is a spinal cord injury. Which so I went in through the car window with my right hand. The arm snapped in two, stretched out and punched a hole in his back window. My body was twisting over the car, landed 20 meters or so down the road with my artery ripped out. So I died straight away on impact. Then I died again because I ran out of blood. Um, and then I died again in later surgery because the pain. So if you know toothache, that's one nerve
Mm-hmm.
exposed to air.
Mhm.
The millions and millions and millions and millions of different nerves for all the skin, the sensors, and the you know you can feel a fly land on your skin, yeah. So that's the
Yeah,
sensitivity you've got. All of those screaming out like toothache, but thousands of times worse.
Right.
So I never recovered. I died that day, became someone else.
yeah.
Yeah, when you have and I can just imagine the pain. I remember I had a I I had an ectopic pregnancy where it ruptured and the pain was so intense. I couldn't I couldn't see anything around me. I couldn't hear, I couldn't feel. I was the pain just took me completely away from
It's
myself.
like I,
Yeah, yeah.
everything. Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
just it was um so that's when I learned how pain, if it's like really intense, how it affects your body.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um
So I mean, after the accident, we're talking about the opioid epidemic in America, and I think that family's been sued now. But I'll give you a quick sort of an idea of the degree of pain that I'm in to this day. So if you go to the doctors, in America it's different because there are all sorts of problems. But if you go to the doctors in the UK, they won't prescribe. So you can't tell the doctor what drug you want in the UK because drug companies can't advertise. But you go to them and go, oh, I've got this terrible pain, and you've got a leg missing and it's bleeding at the stump. Like, so not funny, but funny. I've got a friend, LinkedIn connection, who's got stage 4 bowel cancer. They give him 20 milligrams of morphine to sleep at night. Back in 1996, there were 2 products I was taking. One was, they're both called Oromorph. A pink tablet was 750 milligrams, and the blue tablet was 1250 milligrams. I was driving 2 hours, well, actually 3.5 hours a day in rush hour traffic on morphine, on cocaine, on marijuana, on alcohol. I was in so much pain that wearing clothes, if it rained, I could feel each raindrop on my shoulder. For 2 years, I couldn't wash the area with anything other than a really light sort of, it's like a, I don't know, it's just a weird material that doesn't have any pressure. So continual desire to die and kill, and I reflect on it in the book. I was proper psychopathic road rage, like white hot rage, because this is the framing that I had at the time. The girl I was seeing was cheating on me, had been for 2 months before, so I needn't have been there. The car pulled out of a side road, so it's his fault mostly. So I was victim, I was angry, I was mistrusting of women. I was in such pain that the only way I could, so I've got a highly visual mind, but I only know this now because I know this now. At the time, what I have is I have it all going on inside my head. And that kind of pain, the only representations that I had were nuclear explosions, planets being torn apart. There's a gun in Predator Arnie uses called a minigun. I used to dream about riding around in a truck with 4 of them on a turret, like in the Star Wars, blowing fucking people away, basically. Just screaming fire, death, and I mean, seriously, fucking hell. I don't have faith, but if I had been of a religious bent of any variety, I could have been radicalized incredibly easily because the pain was so overwhelming.
Yeah, and that is the pain, the physical pain that you were experiencing, but it could also be the translation of the emotional pain that was coming out in that way as well and acting out, and possibly also intensifying the physical pain that you were feeling.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So it's go on.
Sorry, just from the way you describe it in terms of what you pictured and the intensity of every sensation that you felt on your body.
Now, the second girlfriend I had was sometime in the first couple of years after the accident. Her name was Kathy, or is Kathy, I'd imagine. But I was in the midst of complete, I mean, here's the thing. This is a signal of how much pain it is. I'm taking 50 ecstasy tablets a weekend. I got piles of cocaine. So we used to buy it in a block. You know, people buy little wraps. I'm earning £55,000 a year living at home with a company car. I was buying fucking blocks of cocaine. So we're talking a severe drug addiction and an alcohol addiction, and basically I was doing everything I could. So here's the thing: I'm not brave enough to kill myself. So even though I really wanted to die, I can't do it. I can't do that.
Right.
But I can die by accident. So we were driving around. So just the most crazy. So this girl I met was a mature student. She was 26, I think, at the time, and I was 22, and she was doing a later degree. Redhead, lovely, pretty eyes, what have you. Something I found out recently, or I confirmed recently, I used to watch her pupils dilate when I saw her on the doorstep, and apparently that is a sign of sexual readiness. I used to watch it happening, and I commented on the book because I saw a program that says this is what that is, and I went, oh, I've seen that happen. So what happened was we were having a great relationship, taking all sorts of ridiculous risks, loads of drugs, lots of sex. I was very passionate with her, so I'd ring on the doorbell, she'd answer the door, and immediately lean in and, you know, the passion of youth. If you don't get a couple of bruises on your from sex, you're not rolling around enough. Yeah, it was that kind of thing. But then, and here's so I'm a real. It really bothers me, equality. I've not been able to verbalize it until many years after the event. But the fact that she was older than me, but I was so much wealthier, and the fact that she was so kind and I was so psychotic, so I had to fake it. Didn't have to fake it. I've ended up faking it at work because I'm doing mid-level, those job titles. I'm doing those jobs where I'm fucked. And I had to break up with her because I could feel the imbalance and it disturbed me. And I was crying when I broke up with her because I wanted to be with her, but I couldn't deal with the idea of power.
And do you feel that you did treat her fairly?
No, I treated her very fairly. I mean, we spent money, had a great time, met her parents. Really good time. But it's not about the external. See, so for me, and since the accident, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm not hideous. I'm definitely odd, but I'm not hideous. Quite charming. I could seduce a lady, should I so choose? I'm sure. But here's the thing. I'm okay, but I'm not better than. A life with me is going to be a definite step down for anybody. I don't have any money. I don't have any power. I don't have any influence. I go to bed every night at 8:30 to 9:00 because I have to take medication to sleep. That requires that I exercise in the morning. So I was up at 5 this morning and at 5 a.m. doing exercise, walking up and down stairs. You see this takes 18, 19 hours of work. And you're now talking to me at the end of my day. So I'll probably start slurring if we go too long. But so my concern is always the other. That yes, you might have a laugh with me, but every second you spend with me is not with the person who might give you what you need, which, because we believe we live out here, none of us do. We all live in here. It's just that most people don't realize it. And so you pursue things of the external, pleasures of the flesh, material, wealth, bling, whatever it might be. But when you have to fight continuously, not fight, but when you have to calm yourself continuously. So all day, every day, all day, every day, all day, every day for 26 years, I'm going, let go, let go, let go, let go. Because when it comes up like that, the pain, you have to. So it leads to a state of massive disassociation from the physical world. I had money, but then I had this bunch of strokes. So the motorcycle accident was one thing, bunch of strokes. And because I had money, everything, all the bills went out, the money went basically. So now I have nothing, which is good because in the UK, if you have nothing, you get a little bit from the government to live. And so all I've done is I've cut my life down so that I don't need anything other than that. So as an example, that's my phone.
Yeah, I know we kind of talked about that.
We did, yeah. So I don't have. Well, and this is the weird thing. I drive a fairly new car. I live in a flat. It's clean. It's tidy. In fact, I'm obsessively clean and tidy. No, it's not obsessively. I'm extremely clean and tidy. So I look from the outside, fine. But when you understand the work required to get this, then it
Yeah.
becomes not really a good idea for anyone.
Okay. So one of the questions I was going to ask you was, had you had any relationships after the recovery of your accident, which you've now explained to us. So just going back on what you've said to what you've shared with Baltamra and myself, are these not limiting beliefs that you've created in your mind out of fear?
Yes.
So
Okay.
if if you met someone who really understood everything, do you think that you could build a relationship with them, or do you still feel like doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what it is, that in your mind it will never work?
So, in answer to that question, I would say that. So I had my last stroke 13 years, 2006. 15 years ago. Bloody hell, time flies. And for the first 2 years after that, I was walking with a stick and a brace, all sorts of problems. What was the point of that story? Ask me the question again if you can remember it.
Yeah, just if you met someone.
Oh yes, right, okay. So what I did after my strokes, the first thing, well, not the first thing I did, the few first things I did was pay for my own funeral and have a vasectomy, because I'd had 6 strokes by the time I was 35 at the time.
Mhm.
So I went, there's no way I'm passing that on to a child. Then at that age, that is the age that women in this later society are having children and having relationships. Unless you have a relationship, 22, 23, 25, whatever it is, a lot of people are having their second, they've either had their children, they have their second relationship at my age, or they've had from a woman's perspective, had a bunch of shit relationships and wants to settle down with the father of her children. So I removed and took responsibility for not bringing a child into the world who would suffer the same injury potential as me, because I can deal with it because I was left alone. So I'm always on my own, and basically the only thing I say inside my head is get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, all the time. So I did that because then you are signaling to yourself not to engage with someone and waste their time, because the desire to breed is the sort of nature of life, generally speaking. I've got a view about consciousness and what have you, which is different. So I prevented that from happening. I'm nearly old enough now that that isn't a pressure or a loss that a woman might feel if she spent time with me. And I think ultimately, although I have concerns, now I understand my nature as well as I do, possibly, but not actively. So I've got a plenty of fish profile,
Mhm.
but it's just it's nonsense. There's a couple of lines. I went from writing all sorts of detailed profiles to writing this profile to changing it to this to change it. Nothing makes a difference because I look like this, and women look at this and go, "What the fuck?" So I'm definitely more of a multimedia experience than a straight visual.
I think that, you know, um, that you put more on you, because I think you're very compassionate, and that although you might not, I don't know if you notice that, but you care about other people, but you don't feel that way. But you,
Yeah.
it resonates over when you talk, and things that you say. And so sometimes we, things that we feel and say, may not necessarily be what we think. But like from even the first time I met you, I was just like, I mean, because you are extremely compassionate. You you care about things and you care about situations. And I really think that you do care about people because
Yeah, yeah.
you do. And um I mean, to me, you're incredible. I have never met anyone who thinks like you, who I mean, it's like you're like a person who um we only use this much of our brain, but it's like you're using that much of your brain, right?
Okay.
We can only do a little. We only, because we don't know how to do or think any other way, but you have the ability to go further than that, and
So,
which I
yeah,
think,
okay.
yeah,
So I'll give you a quick, right. So this is the book I wrote. It's
okay,
400,000 words to explain basically that if you treat children nicely, they will perform better than if you're an arsehole to them.
right,
But there's all of the experimentation and trials in schools and programs and this, that, and the other video interviews, blah, 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 to establish something that I naturally admit that everyone in education can't seem to understand. It's ridiculous. Like, so for example, to teach speaking and spelling, they use phonics, the sounds of words. You
right.
can't spell the word phonics phonetically. It doesn't fucking work. Yeah. So, but people in education are stuck. So I'm writing this book, and in this book I'm writing, yeah, it's like having 3 to 9, 9 to 12. I have these spheres, perspectives, different perspectives. So right now, talking to you, I have the computer screen where I can see us three on the screen. What I also have in my head is one from up there, one from about there, one from about there, you looking at me and Volushny looking at me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've got 7 different perspectives running at the moment. And when I say I've got them running, it's not something I do, it's just something there is. And I only separate the images out when I count them for you. Otherwise, it's going in my head. Now, I write it down in this book of mine. Then 5 years later, I read a book called Bridges to Success because I'm trying to teach dyslexic children how to spell.
Mhm.
And in there, clients of this woman, Olive Hickmott, go, I see the world multi-perspectively. I went, that's me. Then I've got synesthesia. So I have what's like a trip when I listen to music. So I started on heavy metal, and now I listen to underground trance.
Mhm.
I'm having such an immersive color experience. It is incredible. There's Aldous Huxley's The Doors of Perception, where they talk about mescaline, which is a psychotropic drug that um, in the Amazon, Incas and stuff like that use for in the bush meditation sort of stuff. So I see these colors and shapes to music that's just incredible. Indeed, the version that everyone lives out here is at best a sixth of what I experience. So dyslexic brains have this skill, and I'll just read a bit out of The Gift of Dyslexia. Right, so there's a book called The Gift of Dyslexia. And it says the mental function that causes dyslexia. The mental function that causes dyslexia is a gift in the true sense of the word, a natural ability, a talent. It is something special that enhances the individual. Dyslexics don't all develop the same gifts, but they do have certain mental functions in common. Here are the basic abilities all dyslexics share. They can utilize the brain's ability to alter and create perception, the primary ability. So what I've just described to you is me imagining different points of view, and then I'm using what are called the submodalities. So a picture could be black and white or color, but I know what infrared looks like. I know what heat imaging looks like. I know what ends of LED light, like pointillism, looks like. So I'm, because I'm in so much pain, I'm dicking around in my head to take my attention away from it. And I've been doing that all day, every day, all day, every day, all day, every day, all day, every day for 26 years. So my ability to create is now so practiced that it is just a different experience of being. So I'll carry on. They are highly aware of the environment. They are more curious than average. They think mainly in pictures instead of words. They're highly intuitive and insightful. They think and perceive multi-dimensionally using all the senses. They can experience thought as reality, and they have vivid imaginations. So in here, I have a chapter called Maybe I Had an Early Hardwired Advantage to NLP because I can do this perceptual positions. Then I reflect on, what was I can't remember what was. Oh, bug, I've lost my train of thought. But yeah, so it's all happening at once. Oh yeah. So that's why it's so much when it comes out, because I'm trying to compress 16 or 15 different perspectives all into one stream of consciousness. So I write in here that when I look at something, my receptors for light pick up the same thing as you do. But what I'm seeing in my head is it's like seeing a whole marble. So I see this side of it, that side of it, upside of it, downside of it. I that's how I see the thing. So the construct in my head is a solid metaphor, which means that to explain that verbally, it's pages and pages and pages and pages of description. So that yeah, I'm a freak.
You know what? I'm taking a class right now on planets, and I'm learning about the solar system and just the atmosphere. I mean the
Milky Way.
how we live. And one of the things that I learned was when you look in the sky, so sometimes we just sit there and look up, and it takes us back to when we were young, you know. And really, what is happening is what you see in the sky is not now, it was then. So now hasn't come yet. We're only seeing then. So that's why people feel, if you really get into it and really understand, you're not in the now, you're in the then. And when I realized that, it helped me to understand more of things that happen to us, because we're not in the now, we're in the then. And then could be millions of years ago. And it's crazy to understand, but it is true. And so what you just said took me back to my what I'm learning, in that you 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 are now, but you're you're in the then as well. So you're not like what is going on right now. Your head is so sort of like our universe. You work sort of in the then now, if that makes sense.
Multi-dimensionally and multi-perspectively,
Yeah.
using all the senses.
Yeah.
So consciousness, what we think of as our lives, this, the vessel, this is okay as a way to produce more of these, to carry these around.
Right.
But it's these that are human consciousness. And so I have speculated this thing about being highly intuitive, writing that book. I'm doing all these things intuitively. I'm making up games, and then I'm reading about them in other people's books. And what it turned out that I was doing was I found 18 different spheres of knowledge and compressed them all into one me, which is called recombinative innovation, which I read about a year after I finished trying to do it. And I went, that's what I was doing. And I went, that's why they couldn't understand me. Each one of the 18 things was an entire attack on their entire nature of reality. And I didn't understand why people were threatened by me. Because it's so easy. If you're paying attention, everything's so easy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So,
Everything is easy, but we make it difficult. So
you'd think with this kind of mental power that I wouldn't have that limiting belief. And apart from with women, I don't care about anything. When I say I don't care about anything, go on.
How do you feel about yourself? Like when you look at yourself in the mirror, do you have any love for yourself? Do you admire what you see in the mirror?
At the moment, so fatter than when my photo was taken for that website. So So, like, if I went on a date, if I went on a date, I wouldn't take this off. I listen to Iron Maiden. I've got a bass box in the back of a little Fiat 500 car. It's called an Bath. It's a bright yellow 2-door sports coupe with a loud exhaust and a boombox. So I'm going. It's going. And I have my lights on, which I've coloured yellow, and I'm wearing a spiky collar, and I've got a Al Qaeda beard, and I'm shaved head, and I'm really, I have this presence that I didn't know I had. So when I was working in school,
you love that about yourself, and you love that about yourself.
I do love that about myself, but because now I understand what it is.
That's a question.
Yeah, but that's the interesting thing, because it's not really about that. So there's lots of stuff, visual cues that say this guy's definitely a bit odd, and then you hear my accent and you go, oh, that's even more odd. And then I start having these really deep, intense conversations without any small talk or shit, and they go, oh right, yeah, you're properly odd. And that's when most people get frightened. Yeah. Do I love myself? I love myself. Yeah, I love my experience of being, and the visual packaging probably makes me look more exciting than I actually am. Yeah.
Ask that question, or to think about it. How did it feel for you?
Well, because this is the thing. So yeah, no, I don't trying to think about how I think about myself. So I commented on a post today, and I've made 3 contacts because this guy I spoke to is a copywriter. I recognized him as neurodivergent straight away. We connected because we commented on someone else's post, and I reach out and say, let's Zoom to anyone that will. You've got obviously the people that try and pitch you things, and then you've got people that just want to have conversations. He was one of those. Then he posted today and mentioned me in the post about neurodivergence because I gave him all this information, and a load of people went, oh, me too, me too. So I've now connected with those 2 people. So this energy, I can now spot it in other people. Mm-hmm. And I think ultimately, apart from the fear aspect, there is the balancing, and it's not, this is going to sound harsh, it's not contempt. But until I understood recently how much faster and the way in which I think is different, I used to genuinely believe that people were being lazy or ignorant or stupid because they would not do what I could do so easily in my head, which is take a different position. Yeah. So you come to me and say something completely opposite to what I am saying. I don't go, I go, woo. I had a conversation today, so Volushni, about our thing. So Melissa in our group is a copywriter, and she said, yeah, this idea for potency academies is great, but what about relationships with boys or girls or what have you? And I went, I hadn't thought about that. And we'll talk about that another time, Bilashni, but basically the whole component of relationships, because I've never had one really, I hadn't considered that as being a core part of a development of a child to a young woman. So the problem is basically that you've got to step up. Because if you're going to moan and moan and moan and moan and moan and moan and not do anything about it. See, I did that post recently, Volashni, for International Women's Day. I did a post about listening, where I talk about the 7 habits of highly effective people. The fact that when you're listening, especially to women, you go, "Oh yeah, oh I see, yeah, okay, oh yeah, that sounds really, oh yeah, it sounds really stressful." That's the correct way to listen. What I do is I go, "Oh yeah." So,
but that's your compassion that Tamra so easily identified with.
Yeah, but it's a control. It's control freakery.
But I don't.
No, it is.
I don't see that. I don't see it at all.
Okay, well, in the book, just before you praise me unduly, I've written a chapter called "My Experience of Nearly Getting Married." So between Kathy, a year after 6 months after my accident, it was then 14 years until the next girl. And the next girl, she came out to see me in Australia. She flew for 3 days to see me for 4 days. There's a whole story behind that, but she's a PhD, really seemed fast-minded, all the rest of it. And in her mind, she was one thing, but in her life, she was a complete different thing. And so I suddenly found that it's not. I just didn't understand. It's not intelligence; it's flexibility. I have fluid thought. So yeah, pain in the ass. Carry on. You were saying you're going to say something nice about me. I'll shut up.
Well, I just want to say that every time I talk to you, I get something else, and I do get it. Do I think like you? No, not at all. I probably use that much of my brain. I could probably would like to use some more, but we are creatures of habit. We sometimes don't jump out of the box to try to learn something. And I just want to say to you, I think you are an incredible person. I love your personality. I love how you view different things, and it's okay to be different. Like if you look around, if we were all the same, it would be like really crazy here, boring. Nobody would probably never talk to anyone. And my first meeting with you, I had no idea. I just thought I was going to talk to somebody, and you totally blew me away. And so I do appreciate you. I appreciate the way you think, and I do appreciate your admiration for women, for sure, because we don't see that enough. So with that said, Jonathan, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come and talk with us.
Did it help anywhere? Did we get anywhere in the sexual relationships?
Say it again.
Did we get anywhere with the relationships and intimacy? Did I cover anything?
You sure did.
Yeah? Cool. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then next time we talk to you, who knows, you might be in a relationship. We never know. But look, you're in a relationship with 2 women right now.
Oh, yeah, 3-way. So easy, Tiger. Shall I leave you with? Volushny has heard this joke before, but I can. Oh no. Sorry. I won't do it for a recording.
No, it's okay. See, because you know why? Because we're real raw and uncut. We don't sugarcoat. So you throw it on us.
So Volushny, the bloke walks into a bookshop joke or the bloke walks into a pub with a small lizard joke?
I haven't heard that one.
Oh, have you not? Okay. So
No.
bloke goes into a pub with a small lizard on his shoulder, and he goes up to a pub at a bar. He goes up to the manager, the server, and he goes, "Yeah, can I have a pint of lager, please? And Tiny, will have a JD and Coke." Barman's like, "What?" Brings the pint of JD and Coke over. There's a straw for Tiny sitting on the shoulder like that. Bloke has the pint. Right, okay. I'm gonna have a what's it called? Vermouth. And Tiny, same again. Double. Tiny will have a double this time. Oh, and can I have some crisps? Brings over this vermouth. Bloke has the vermouth down in one shot. Tiny, double JD and Coke, dry roasted peanuts. Very nice, thank you very much. Bloke goes, all right. I think we'll top it off. We'll have some champagne. You got any? Oh yeah, you got any Pierre? Whatever it is. Brings over some champagne. The bloke goes, look, you've been a good customers. You're not making any trouble, but you keep on calling this thing on your shoulder, which is weird. Keep on calling him Tiny. Why do you keep him why do you call him Tiny? And he goes, well, he's minute. Mute, small lizard, minute. If you have to explain it, it's not a good joke.
No, I was like, wait. Did I? Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it's like being in my head.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
Well,
yeah. Thank you.
I do want to say to all of our viewers, thank you guys for tuning in with Real Raw and Uncut, and Jonathan's perspective on life. If you feel that you're different, embrace it. Don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Just be who you are. And again, Jonathan, I thank you so much. And so we're going to continue our relationship threesome without you all. So we want to thank you again. And our segment was brought to you by Loveology University. And if you're interested in becoming a love coach, you can go to www.loveuniv, and stay tuned. We bring you Real Raw and Uncut every week. So we'll see you guys next week.